Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you very much for attending today's webinar on DIY, how to avoid the pitfalls of self-integration. And realistically, it could also be how to select a proper integration partner or how to actually evaluate an integration project before it hits your floor. So let me get it advanced here so it sets up. So I was looking at some data as to why would we talk about this and why are we worried about self-integration and how we can help the segment of the market that is really looking at this type of integration. So according to the RIA statistics, there are roughly 225,000 small to medium-sized manufacturers in North America that are looking to automate. And for most of those companies, they're considering doing this automation for the very first time. And there are a lot of issues and concerns that you should think about when talking about deploying any type of automation into your plant. So that's what today's talk is going to be about. We're going to discuss some of the implementations and ROI from a different perspective, not necessarily one that our friends in finance would probably be very interested in learning about. But in most of the small to medium sized shops, we're not dealing with investors and people that are expecting a dividend check every quarter. And we'll talk about the culture of a company and bringing in robotics for the very first time. And we'll also discuss some of the criteria in selecting an integration partner. FANUC has a very, very deep and extensive partner network, and aligning those partners with some of our end users and people that are thinking about automation is definitely something that we enjoy doing, and we do it every day. We're going to talk about the CRX robot just for a little bit. It's a new introduction for FANUC. And the CRX is what FANUC's solution would be to the DIY market. It would be the robot that if we were going to recommend a do-it-yourself project, the CRX would be the robot that I would recommend for those types of applications. We're going to look at a case for using an integrator, and then also at the end of it, we have a couple testimonies and videos. And also at the end of it, instead of introducing who FANUC is at the beginning, we'll do that introduction at the very end for those that want to stay around and see what FANUC is and the depth and breadth of our products. So the first thing we always talk about is ROI, and it's kind of been beat to death, and everybody has different perspective on what ROI is. Your finance people are going to be cut and dry. They're going to say, this is what your number is. If you don't see this money back within a given time, your automation project is pretty much kaput. Well, I don't really like to look at ROI as something, especially in the job shop market, as something that should be driving your automation decisions. You should be letting value drive your decisions. Look at the value that this automation process is going to create for you in your downstream operation or even at the bottom line, because it really shouldn't be about cost. And we buy by this in our daily lives every day. We get the upgrade in our cars, or we buy the better decking, or the upgraded paint for our homes. We all do this because it's about buying value. It's not necessarily looking at the cost of a project specifically. But in an ROI environment, you're looking at traditional evaluations versus non-traditional, or tangible versus intangible. So your accountants and your finance people will look at labor and overhead and maintenance costs and what the hard costs are associated, including the acquisition of the capital equipment itself. Whereas the intangible values and costs are the sentiment that the employee gets from standing in front of a machine, knowing that he's using a robot to help him work with 5 machines instead of 1. The quality of your parts, because robots are repeatable. The decrease of work in process, because you're now able to schedule your manufacturing based on production numbers you can meet, because the robot doesn't call in sick for work. So without reading the entire slide, you guys can see that with the intangible and tangible costs, it's very difficult to come up with an ROI that's going to say your project is what's viable. You have to base it on value and what your downstream value costs are. So avoiding a pitfall of self-integration, and one of the major pitfalls is the ROI pitfall, where someone just, you're unfamiliar with robots and someone convinces you that if you don't make your money back in a given time frame, that project isn't worth doing. Well, unfortunately, I personally don't believe that, because you're going to see a huge push, especially, you've heard stories about the skills gap and workers are hard to find, which is all very true. And now there's another threat impressing on us, and that's the $15 an hour minimum wage. So at $15, I'm going to do a little thing for you. I pulled this off from YouTube. I don't like the kiss human labor goodbye, but in any event, so they throw that line there at the end about saying goodbye to human workers. I'm not a big proponent of just, that robots are going to take all these jobs. Now, it is true that robots will, displace humans in some of the jobs. It's always the dirty, dangerous, mundane, repetitive jobs. But as you've gone down this road and you've talked about ROI and you've discussed it with your accountant and you've discussed it with your business partner or maybe your wife or your kids, and you've got it decided now that you're going to put automation in there in your shop of 50 people. Well, the first thing you might have is, whoopsie. The first thing you're going to probably experience will be a little bit of culture shock because your workers haven't had to work side by side with the robot, and there's a good chance that they may fear robotics. Not fear from the fact that it's dangerous, fear it from the fact that it might replace them. So you're going to go through a couple of different stages of acceptance, if you will, starting with grief when they're like, oh my God, they're going to put robots in here? They can't do this to us. I gotta stop this. Maybe they'll work with us. Oh my God, it's inevitable. How do I accept this? So you want that acceptance to be something of positive. So you don't want to sell the robots to your employees as these are going to be something that replaces you. It is an enhancement for their current job, which is what's been proven to be true. So why should people stop worrying about robots taking their jobs? Because really, when people say robots take our jobs, and there are many of us in the industry that face this comment every single day, robots take jobs, and they're right. The dirty, dangerous, mundane, repetitive jobs that people can or don't want to do. Robots will fill that need without a problem, and they'll complete it without complaining, and they'll take that next task on without hesitation. But robots really enhance human productivity. The advent of the collaborative robot is really what brought human robot intervention in the last 8 years is when the collaborative industry really came out. You've really seen a push in the last 3 to 5 years, and I think that you're going to see moving forward many more cobots deployed on a global basis, simply because of that human robot interaction enhancing the worker's output, not replacing it. And robots create higher paying jobs. The RIA can produce some statistics for you that will say that for every robot installed, it creates 5 jobs in the environment. And that's from maintenance, programmers, project managers, and then plus the intrinsic values that we kind of addressed earlier before, where even your customers know that, wow, our parts are being made with robots. They're quality parts. but how do you get the correlation between implementation and the robot growth? So this is a statistic, and it's a couple years old, but it is something that was pulled from the Bureau of Labor and Statistics that shows that for every robot installed, I just wanted to back up my statement that for every robot installed, 4 to 5 robots actually do, or 4 to 5 jobs are created in the environment. So this is a short video from one of our partners, Flex and Gate.
Robots are instrumental in production of any kind of product today. Working with collaborative robots is new to me since I got here at Flex and Gate. Prior to that, I hadn't any experience with collaborative robots. What I've noticed with the collaborative robots is that they're really easy for the operators to work around and with.
At this Flex and Gate facility, we primarily manufacture bumpers. In the past, we would have to put in cameras that would pick up every toggle, every push pin, every FBA.
In one station, we've got 11, 12 cameras in there. Cameras can cost up to $10,000 a piece. With the collaborative robot, you have one camera and the robot moves the camera around to the areas where it needs to be inspected. Just in that sense alone, one camera versus 10, 12 cameras, there's a lot of savings. Also, just safeguarding for the traditional robot, all the fencing that you have to put around it, you don't have that anymore.
Our other robots, we have these massive cages around, and then on top of that, you have to have all kinds of safety blocks and auto locks. All that costs a lot of money.
You save some space. With the traditional robot, you have to cage it all off for safety. With the collaborative, the safety is kind of built into the robot itself. It doesn't have to be a big cumbersome chunk of real estate to be taken up. You can also integrate that in with your regular line and with your regular employees. So the operators can work closely to it and with it.
It makes it a lot easier for them and us, so they truly enjoy it.
We integrated the collaborative robot, and after we integrated it, about a week or so, I walked out there, and they're working right next to the robot. As the robot's taking pictures of one side of the bumper, they're wiping off the other side of the bumper. Wow.
My dealings with the FANUC robots thus far has been nothing but great because we have very, very little downtime. They're compact, they're small, but you know, they're mighty.
Service first guarantee on a FANUC is an insurance policy for you. You don't know everything there is to know about those robots, and the companies that build them do. Being able to make a phone call, one of the FANUC reps come up here and to work hand in hand with you, you need that kind of support. Excuse the phrase, is priceless.
So although the DIYer is definitely not Flex and Gate, the idea and the concept of collaboration and robots working side by side, I thought that was a good video to showcase what the potential for, you know, true robot collaboration with people on such a large scale. And I thought it'd be interesting because for the DIYer, if we can do it in a plant, we can definitely work with you on one. But you know, if you look at what Mike talked a lot about and Jason talked about, we're collaborative robots, Cobots. And what makes a Cobot? A Cobot can be any robot really, but the one that you see on the screen here is our CRX robot. This one is force and power limited by inherent design. Currently, there are about 160 Cobot manufacturers on the planet. Most of them are laboratory research projects and aren't real robot companies. And I don't mean that critically. I mean that they just aren't robot companies. They've perfected some 6-axis motion and they've tried to put it out into a product. I do not mean to be critical about that. So force and power limited by inherent design, a safety rated stop. Speed and separation monitoring is one of the more interesting forms of collaboration because I can make our largest 2,300 kilogram robot collaborative by using the appropriate safety sensors. And then of course, hand guidance. Again, I can put that on any industrial robot with the proper safety protocols, and I can make any FANUC robot, or any robot for that matter, collaborative. So understanding what a Cobot is and why it works can help you deploy it in the future. FANUC as a company, we have the largest offering of collaborative robots, and the green ones you see there, I would not recommend for self-integration. They're more like an industrial robot. They behave like an industrial robot with collaborative features. They will be force and power limited and will meet all 4 characteristics of which make up a collaborative robot. But the 2 on the right, the CRX, the short arm and the long arm by CRX robots, those are what I would truly recommend for the DIY market. So it is the newest member of our family. So just give a quick overview on what this robot is. It's a 10 kilogram payload with a short arm version and a long arm version. The short arm at 1250 and 1400, everyone can read, I'm certain. The thing that's nice about what FANUC has done with this robot is everything is going to be plug and play, including the gripper connections. And we've got, partners like, Shunk and Zimmer and On Robot that will work with us in, having the collaborative grippers and the tools we need to make the robot functional. It's manually guided. It's extremely light. It's under 80 pounds, simple to install, and again, easy to operate. So you'll see in a lot of the conversation you'll see from some of our competitors in this space, they've kind of gone away from the safety and talking about selling it as a safe machine, and they start starting to sell them more as ease of use and easy to deploy, which is not inaccurate. And they're still supposed to be inherently safe, but they've kind of gone away from some of that marketing. FANUC takes safety very, very paramount, very, very seriously, and it's paramount in everything that we put into all of our products. The CRX is flexible and capable. It has a max collaboration speed of 1,000 millimeters a second. It can be taken out of collaboration mode and can be operated at 2,000 millimeters a second, but that will require safety fencing or auxiliary sensors for that type of speed to be ascertained by this robot. Through arm cabling for IO vision and force sensoring is IP54 and can be mounted in any attitude. So the controller is also a new controller for FANUC, the Mini Plus controller, and also the tablet. It's a Samsung industrial tablet. Can't be purchased at Lowe's or Best Buy or Circuit City or wherever you're going to buy your electronics, if Circuit City even exists anymore. But nonetheless, it is a special industrial tablet, rated for drops, comes with a case. Now, in the DIY market, you want to find a partner that is going to be able to plug and play all of the components necessary to make the robot smart in that application. A robot is great at doing the same repetitive action, pick and place from a known location. But if you need that robot to start to think and start to make decisions, FANUC's integrated software and hardware will make that process so much easier. And you may not require an integrator to put this type of equipment on the FANUC robot because it is all plug and play. Our force sensors, our 2D and 3D sensors as well. If you notice, the robot that you see on the right is the long arm. It has a very unique motion we call the J1 flip. So where we see a lot of these robots being deployed will be in the machine tool space. And in the machine tool space, time is of essence. And if you're using a collaborative robot, you've already sacrificed a little bit of time just because the collaborative robot inherently is slower than a cobot, or excuse me, an industrial robot. So if you look at the way that is, this robot can swing within itself, saving valuable time where the robot doesn't have to rotate 180 degrees every time to go from in the machine tool to out of the machine tool. This also gives you the highest rating, highest safety ratings we have. It's got visual sensors along with lights that tell you what mode it's in, so you can always look at it. But the key about it, everything, is flexibility, especially for this DIY market. Flexibility and able to be deployed quickly. So it's easy to install with very common mounting bolts and mounting fixtures. The flange on the robot is a standard flange, ISO 31.5 degrees. Pretty much every robot uses it, so changing tooling is an issue, or adding tooling is an issue. All the major tool manufacturers, gripper manufacturers, vacuum manufacturers support that type of interface. And you can take it out of the box, put it on this little cart here, all within 20 minutes, plug it into the wall and effectively start writing programs. So there is an inherent savings to when you can get your robot installed quickly. Obviously, you don't have more people in the plant, the changeover time, your machine isn't down for as long. It also can free up real estate. So there is a very, very large market in our space for collaborative robots. They will be around for quite a while, and they will add to the productivity of your plant if you're interested in deploying this technology. So the ease of use is something that FANUC is starting to explore with this robot. We've always had our IHMI interface, but we've now gone into a drop and drag icon-based programming platform. In the background, it will generate a TP program, a teach pendant program in the FANUC language that has been native to the FANUC robot for 37 years and will continue to be native to FANUC. We are the only robot manufacturer that I'm aware of that has not changed its industrial robot company that has not changed its robot language in that amount of time. But nonetheless, the drop and drag icons make it very simple to do simple motions and simple programming for the robot. You can also have features and functions like hand guidance where you can stitch programs together, where you can drop and take your hand and take the robot J6 motion and take the robot to where you want to move it to. The robot will be recording that, and then you can stitch those motions together to come up with a complete robot program. But one of the key benefits of the FANUC CRX is, one, you get the FANUC reliability, but ours boasts 8 years zero maintenance. So if you go back to the video where they were talking about the $15 an hour wage, where some of the only, where some of the only costs you had to worry about were your one-time purchase and then maintenance and operating costs. The maintenance cost for the CRX will be 0 for 8 years, but there will be operating costs. You know, obviously it will consume electricity. But nonetheless, we are the only cobot manufacturer that will boast this statement today. So the FANUC CRX has its own webpage. I pause on this and let you write that down. It's just fanucamerica.com/CRX, where you can get all the latest, greatest in videos. So when you're in the DIY market, this is an awesome robot to help you avoid some of those pitfalls from some of the other manufacturers that may rely on their fluid power salesman to support you from a technical perspective or a warranty perspective or even a service perspective. So when you work with FANUC and some of our partners, you work directly with FANUC and not the guy that sold you your tubing and fittings. So the next step, if DIY, you think you can handle it, you know, you have to be careful to know what you're looking for. But the minute you ask the question, can I add a conveyor? Can I add another machine? Can I do this? Can I? Can I is the most important question that I think that you would need to look at for looking at factors for selecting an integrator to be your partner moving forward with your robotic applications. The first thing you need to look at, in my opinion, and also the opinion of John Bergen, the person who I have borrowed some of this information from, is the company credible? Your reputation is staked on the company that you're going to partner with. You want to make sure that that company is not just experienced, but is also connected. Look for organizations like the RIA or the NTMA or AMT to make sure that these people are engaged in the industry so they understand your business. They have to understand your business if they're going to be able to provide a solution for you to be viable and profitable down the road. Whenever you work with an integrator, you want to make sure that you have that open line of communication to always understand what is happening in the progress of your integration. You want to be trained along every step of the way as if you have that opportunity to do so. And the best integrators and most integrators that FANUC partners with, they all have project management and teams that will help you and keep you up to date on the investment you're making as the progress is going on. But if their service isn't any good, that aforementioned statement isn't any good. You want to look for a company that has 24/7, 365 service with direct technicians from the manufacturers on the line if possible, meaning that you're calling the integrator, but they're vendors and they're the people that brought the system together, their vendors. People like FANUC have 24/7, 365 service. And you also want to make sure you're buying the right system and the right product for your application. In many instances, many robot companies, especially in the cobot space, do not have a very expansive offering of robots. Not that the robots that they manufacture aren't good and reliable, but it might not be the right application, the right robot for your application. And if it's not, you should get the right one. Otherwise, you stand the risk of running a failed integration and a very expensive mistake on your part. Applying the right robot is very, very important. So you want to make sure that you're buying the right robot, your partner is aligning you with the right vendor to make sure that the right robot goes into your application. And how transparent and precise is the quote? Are they just giving you a total price and say, here's what it's going to cost? I would ask for a little bit more explanation. Not that, we're all in this to make money and we're not trying to gouge, but you also don't want to feel like you are being gouged. Having the transparency up front with your partner will create the opportunity to have a long-standing relationship. Then you get into the actual operation. Is the system safe? Have the safeties been met? Is this going to be an OSHA problem or my OSHA problem in Michigan or whatever your local organization is? Is it going to be safe, and will it be a problem for any of our employees? The RIA has certification certification programs that many of the FANUC ASIs are registered with the RIA as RIA certified. Spare parts is always a huge problem. If your robot goes down, where's the service going to be done? Who's it going to be done by? How quickly is it going to be turned around? Are you relying on the guy or the company? Which one is it going to be? And the spare parts and the service are probably some of the most important questions you can ask, because they're the places where you'll become the most frustrated. If you do not get the support from the robot company you're working with, you will find out that you probably won't want to do business with them in the future. Do we train you? FANUC is as an example. Obviously I'm from FANUC, so I'll talk about that. We have extensive training programs that we extend through our ASI partners that they can resell to the people that need to be trained on FANUC product, whether it's CNC or robot. We have complete comprehensive training classes available. The integrators have those classes available to them, so we want to make sure that anyone using FANUC product is going to be able to support it and use it in the future. But the most important thing, can you rely on the company year in and year out? This is a partner that you want to work with to help you optimize the money that you're putting into your company, to make sure in 5-10 years that the money you put in comes back with more than the ROI expected, but with higher than expectations, because a robot will last for years when applied properly. So another short little video here. If I can get it to play.
Started Matrix back in 2000 with the intent of rebuilding grinding machines. Our actual first robot was the robot that a customer of ours had purchased and sat in the corner of their shop for many years. That customer was Camcraft.
Our company originated in 1950. We started making simple parts, screw machine components, screws and fasteners. In early 2000, we gravitated into more hydraulic components, spools and valves. We started working on automation probably late 1990s, and we needed to get to productivity level that we couldn't achieve without putting automation in there. We have switched to FANUC, a robotic arm, and we never looked back since.
Camcraft approached us at the right time in our business. We saw some synergies between the companies, plus the ability to keep growing the company. 2013, the Virtue family bought Matrix.
The thing that we wanted to do was partner with a company that had good people, and Matrix had really good people, and develop great processes to go in, work with a customer, and develop everything that they need to do to get a system up and running. And finally get it supported by a great product. And that was FANUC. From the quality of the product, the depth, the breadth of the product line, can handle A to Z.
We've been a FANUC partner and authorized system integrator for 20 years now. The advantages that we have working with FANUC is, number one, it's the best robot on the market. And number two, they have such a wide variety of robots that we don't have to go to other robot manufacturers for a robot selection. It makes it very easy for our sales and automation engineers to spec out and select robots.
We have over 100 CNC machines. Majority of them are from the control machinery. We equip them very heavily as far as functions. So they are very versatile, very user-friendly, very intuitive, very easy to work on, well serviced. The most complex machinery we have has 9 axes.
We started this project on the Nakamura's machines. One operator had to manually load the parts. Now everything is automated. One robot is serving the 4 machines, fully integrated with FANUC robots. The operators only need to supervise tooling change, checking the parts on the CMM. FANUC has a great support structure. You could call the hotline at any time, or you can pull it up on your laptop and speak to someone live right at that time. From simple questions to I need this gasket to my robot's down, you can get that support at any time.
Overall training's been very easy, especially with the FANUC controls, everything with FANUC kind of integrating with itself. It kind of works out very smoothly, so it's very easy to train the operators.
Since we got the automation, everything is much easier. The efficiency is much higher. We get more parts per hour. When we ran those parts manually, we had less time to be checking the parts.
My job will be more stressful without the robot and automation.
Something that Camcraft has done an excellent job of is really fighting that belief that robotics and automation takes away and removes jobs. It doesn't eliminate jobs. What it does do, though, is it creates more interesting jobs. So rather than having operators tend one machine, they can work with 4, 5, and 6 machines. Then really makes them feel like they're contributing more.
The future of automation is bright. I think we've just scratched the surface.
So that was a quick video on Matrix and Camcraft. And the reason that I wanted to show that is because Jeff started out, and if you heard him say, my first robot. He started out in the exact same situation and has grown his company to where industrial robots are now a staple and is focused a business on robot integration. The next video is just an introduction to FANUC and who we are. Whoop, something happened there. Sorry. So it's just a quick corporate video. Normally we would show that at the front, but after discussing some of the things we talked about, I wanted to show that last because I want everybody to understand that in conclusion, the best way to avoid the pitfalls of a DIY integration is to partner with a FANUC integrator or with FANUC if you're going to partner and do it alone. FANUC will support you from each aspect and every aspect of the step along the way. So I thank you very much for your time today. I hope to hear from you. And if there's any questions, I'd be more than happy to take them now. All right, well, on that note, I will close the webinar, and I'd like to thank everybody. I'd like to thank the NTMA tech team, the NTMA, for the opportunity to present this today. And if anybody has any questions or would like to view this later, this will be registered and recorded by the NTMA for future distribution if anyone is interested. So thank you very much. Again, my contact information is up on the screen, and I hope to hear from you. Have a wonderful day, everybody.